Hi readers, welcome to my Weekend Books Part 1. I had to split this up into two parts because I kind of backslid and got out of control at the Barnes & Noble this past week. Anywho, one of the reasons that I did backslide is because I never knew that the movie Psycho was based on a book called Psycho by Robert Bloch. Here's the thing about me. In high school and some college, I took a lot of film classes. In fact, so many that my mom joked that I was going to, graduate with a degree in watching movies. But it was great education. And we watched a lot of Hitchcock. So I've seen Psycho many times, and I rewatched it after I read this book. Spoiler alert, I read this already. If you don't know what it's about, when Mary Crane glimpsed the unlit neon sign announcing the vacancy at the Bates Motel, she was exhausted, lost, and at the end of her rope. Norman Bates, the manager, seemed nice, if a little odd. And then that's all it says. It talks about 65 years after it was published, Robert Bloch's Psycho continues to be one of the most influential horror novels of all time. I read this in, I think, one sitting. It was fabulous. On the back, there's a quote from Hitchcock and said, Psycho all came from Robert Bloch's book. And I rewatched the movie, and it really, really did. I think there's one point at the end where it veers a little bit in the movie off from the book, but this was a fabulous read. Loved it. Highly recommend it. It resonated with me. And then going back and watching the movie, so much came from the book. I'm so glad that someone posted about this on Mother's Day because it was appropriate, and I ran right out to get it. While I was running out to get it, I ended up with several other books. And the next one also had a movie based on it, and also I did not have it, and that's The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty. Blatty. So I'm going on the assumption that everybody knows what The Exorcist is. But if you don't, this is not going to tell you what it is either. This talks about how the inner flap says it was originally published in 1971, 57 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list. He created an iconic novel that focuses on Reagan, the 11-year-old daughter of a movie actress residing in Washington, D.C. A small group of overwhelmed yet determined individuals must rescue Reagan from her unspeakable fate, and the drama that ensues is gripping and unfailingly terrifying. I rewatched The Exorcist last year, I believe. Yes. And I did not find it particularly terrifying, but that's because probably, 50 some odd years later, it just doesn't scare me anymore. Anywho, I do look forward to reading this. I hope it is as good as Psycho. If you've read it, let me know what you think about it. And let me know what you think about Psycho if you've read that. Speaking of horror, this is a YA pick. It is called The One That Got Away with Murder by Trish Lundy. I've never read any of Trish's work before. And I was kind of on the fence on this, but since I was in there and on a buying spree, I caved. Be careful who you fall for. Robbie and Trevor Crestmont have a body count, the killer kind. Handsome and privileged, the Crestmont brothers have enough wealth to ensure they'll never be found guilty of any wrongdoing, even if all of Happy Valley believes they're behind the deaths of their ex-girlfriends. First, there was soccer star Victoria Moreno, Robbie's ex, who was mysteriously drowned at the family lake house. Then, a year later, Trevor's girlfriend died. My tongue is tied today. died of a suspicious overdose. But the Crestmonts aren't the only ones with secrets. Lauren O'Brien might be the new girl at school, but she's never been a good girl. With a dark past of her own, she's desperate for a fresh start, except when she starts a no-strings-attached relationship with Robbie. Her chance is put in jeopardy. During what's meant to be their last weekend together, Lauren stumbles across shocking evidence that just might implicate him. With danger closing in, Lauren doesn't know who to trust, and after a third death rocks the town, she must decide whether to end things with Robbie or risk becoming another cautionary tale. I think this is a YA. Ooh, I do love that, the blood splatter. I think this is YA. Yeah, grades 10 through 12. But when done right, a YA can really be a thriller. Next up, I bought 2 Kristin Hannahs. Both are kind of war-related. The Women was one of my favorite books of this year so far. This next one, I did not like as well as The Women, but it was still a good read. Homefront. This is about a female guardsman who gets called up to active duty to go to Iraq, and she leaves her husband and 2 children behind, and so much misogyny. One thing I will say about this book, I did like it. Had a little bit of a two-pat ending for me, but Kristin Hannah has a knack for making dislikable characters. And I really disliked the husband, Michael, in this. He's a selfish dick. His internal monologue is all about how Jolene emasculates him, but does he ever talk to her about it? No. So, that said, I think being able to write a dislikable character is actually great writing, because she made me feel things about him, and most of it was dislike. He was just such a dick. But so I do recommend this. To me, it didn't meet the women standards, but I don't think it needed to. The next one I got, also war-related. This one about a male soldier and his return from the Vietnam. That is The Great Alone. And let me tell you what that's about. Alaska, 1974. The Albrights are a family in crisis. They are alone, living off the grid in a harsh and unforgiving wilderness. Ernst Albright has come home from the Vietnam War, a changed and volatile man, and has made the impulsive decision to move his wife and daughter north to America's last true frontier. Cora Albright will do anything for the man she loves, even if it means following him into the unknown. 13-year-old Lenny, caught in the riptide of her parents' passionate, stormy relationship, has little choice but to go along, daring to hope that this new land promises her family a better future. Even though they have found a small, independent community of strong men and even stronger women, winter is approaching. Darkness is descending, and Ernst's fragile mental state is deteriorating. Soon the perils outside pale in comparison to the threats from within. In their small cabin, covered in snow, blanketed in 18 hours of night, Lenny and her mother learn the terrible truth. They are on their own. In the wild, there is no one to save them but themselves. This one looks to be good, but I have been reading a lot of Kristin Hannah lately. She's becoming a new comfort read favor, and I don't want to read more than one book a month of her, because I don't want to burn out. And since I read Homefront, it'll be a minute, or at least a month, until I try The Great Alone. Finally, I passed by this face out on a shelf, and I realized that I did not have a copy, so naturally I had to rectify that. And that is The Longest Day by Cornelius Ryan. This is a classic episode of D-Day, June 6, 1944. I should do a YouTube on June 6. he wrote The Last Battle. He wrote A Bridge Too Far. I know I have A Bridge Too Far somewhere. I probably have The Last Battle. Anywho, this is more of my World War II research, and I really look forward to getting into this. Maybe I'll pick it up to read in June if I ever finish my current nonfiction title, which is about World War I and soldiers going mad. Anywho, that is about half. I got 13 total books this week, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. I'll do 7 on the next episode, and I would love to hear if you picked up anything new this week or what you're reading. Tell me about it. Happy reading!